He had planned everything. Departure time, full tank, the clean car, the children dressed, the itinerary saved. Everything except the prayer. To him, it was just a road trip. But in the shadows of a restless night, a message had been sent. A warning, dressed in symbols, wrapped in fear. Not to his ears, but to the quiet soul of the woman who stood beside him. And that morning, the road waited. It would not bend to logic. It would not forgive ignorance. Komi was a man defined by routine. Everything in his life moved with precision. His alarm clock, his office reports, even his weekend plans. As a logistics manager for a shipping company, he thrived on control. Deadlines were sacred. Roads were to be calculated, not feared. He lived by maps, clocks, and routes, not by feelings or dreams. He considered himself a believer, in theory, but in practice, he trusted more in facts than in faith. He saw religion as something emotional, useful for peace of mind, but irrelevant in real-world decision-making. His wife, Afi, lived differently. She was gentle, contemplative, and deeply spiritual. Where Komi relied on plans, Afi leaned into intuition. She prayed over their children's sleep, fasted without announcement, and believed that God could still whisper warnings in the form of dreams. To Komi, those beliefs were sweet, but impractical. He loved Afi, but often dismissed her spiritual sensitivity as superstition. That weekend, Komi had a trip scheduled to his home village. A quick visit, a few gifts for his aging mother, a short escape from city noise. He packed with confidence, checked the car meticulously, and programmed the GPS. His route was clear, the fastest road through the main highway, with smooth pavement and sharp curves. No space for detours, no room for delay. His mind was made up, and in his eyes, nothing could go wrong. In the early hours of the morning, while the house still slept, Afi's rest was interrupted by a violent dream. She saw flashes, a slippery road swallowed in rain, their car out of control, a deafening honk, a blinding beam of headlights, a massive truck bearing down. The metal twisted, children screamed, glass shattered. Then came the silence. The images refused to fade, each one sharper than the last. The slope in the road, the trees leaning over it, the curve that gave no warning. A sinking feeling held her chest, hostage long after the dream had ended. She sat up, heart pounding, sweat clinging to her skin. She couldn't return to sleep. The vision had imprinted itself onto her spirit. While Komi still slept, confident in his morning plans, she walked to the small sitting room, fell to her knees, and whispered the only thing she knew to do: to pray. Not for a smooth journey, but for an intervention. She had seen the ending, and she feared her warning might come too late. By dawn, the house was awake. Children laughed, bags were zipped, and the engine hummed. Afi tried to convey the urgency she felt. Through quiet words, through trembling eyes, she described the road she had seen, the ravine, the weather, the speed, the truck, the sense of finality. She urged a change in direction. There was an alternate road, longer, slower, but safer. But Komi was a man of logic. The skies were clear, the roads were dry, the forecast showed no rain. He had already calculated the route, the fuel cost, and the time they'd arrive. He had no reason, in his mind, to trust a dream. And so, despite her plea, the car moved forward. Afi sat beside him in silence, not because she agreed, but because her words had been spent, and her spirit had already begun to pray again. The city faded behind them. The road stretched out endlessly, smooth and wide. Palm trees lined the horizon. Heat shimmered on the asphalt. Komi drove with confidence, occasionally adjusting the volume of his music. The children sang in the back, enjoying snacks and joking. Afi remained still. Her eyes rarely left the windshield. She noticed every tree, every turn. Each bend in the road reminded her of the dream. It was as if the landscape was slowly unfolding into the vision she'd seen hours before. Her hands rested on her lap. She spoke little, but her mind did not stop repeating the same silent request. Let this not be what I saw. Almost 2 hours into the drive, the light shifted. The sky, once blue and brilliant, turned grey and heavy. A chill entered the car, despite the air conditioning. The children stopped singing. Then, a single drop on the windshield, followed by hundreds, then thousands. The rain began with intensity and speed. It was as if the heavens had opened without warning. Visibility dropped. The road once clear became shiny and treacherous. Wipers struggled to keep up. Water pooled near the edges. The air grew tense. Komi leaned forward, squinting, unwilling to slow too much. He had driven in rain before, but something felt different this time. Afi turned her face slightly toward the window, watching the trees blur. The road ahead looked familiar. Too familiar. It was the road from her dream. Same trees, same curve, same warning. Then it happened. Just past the curve, a shape exploded into view. A truck, large, rusted, barreling downhill, horn blaring, out of control. The tires of their car shrieked on the wet surface. Komi swerved. The children screamed. The world spun. The truck missed them by inches. Its sheer force sent waves of wind and water crashing into their car. They slid off the pavement, down a grassy embankment, bouncing wildly, and finally came to a stop, nose first in a shallow ditch. The engine died. Silence filled the cabin. Hearts pounded. They were alive. Behind them, a sound broke through, metallic and violent. The truck had not stopped. It had struck another vehicle further up the road. The accident Afi had seen had not been avoided. It had simply shifted. Komi opened the door, stumbling into the mud. Rain still fell, though lighter now. His shoes sank into the earth. He turned and saw it. The ravine, the very one Afi had described. The twisted tree, the steep incline, the sharp stones, the place in her dream where everything ended, only meters away. He collapsed to his knees, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Afi stepped out carefully. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't look angry. She looked relieved. She stood beside her husband, looked out over the edge of the ravine, and bowed her head. She knew. She had always known. After that day, Komi was not the same. He still made plans, still believed in logic. But now, he also believed in warnings. He began to pray before driving. He asked Afi about her dreams, her feelings, her instincts. He no longer rolled his eyes when she lit a candle or closed her eyes mid-sentence. He started reading small portions of scripture, not to debate, but to understand, to listen, to learn. His pride didn't vanish, but it was quieter now. It sat in the passenger seat while Faith took the wheel. And although he never publicly told the story, in private, he whispered thanks, not just for survival, but for the woman beside him who saw what he refused to see. Komi didn't survive because he was careful. He didn't escape because of timing. It wasn't his hands on the wheel that saved them. It was the prayer of a woman who saw what he couldn't, who stayed awake while he slept, who interceded when he laughed. There are some dangers that headlights cannot reveal, some disasters that logic cannot prevent. Sometimes the only shield between life and death is the quiet faith of someone who listens when no one else does, and the God who answers when no one else is listening.